Okay, so there's a quiet trend going on out in the business world, and that trend is one of extreme frustration. And that frustration comes from digital overload. Can I have a show of hands if you agree that you have less time, you are more bombarded, you really don't seem to have bandwidth today compared to like 5 years ago? Would that be a reasonable statement? Okay, so what has happened, the amount of information that we have to process has expanded, but what it means, all of that information kind of gets compacted to a really narrow bandwidth now. We are so busy, we are so bombarded. In fact, it can feel like this thing is attacking us sometimes.
It's listening at least.
Yes, it is, it's listening. So if we say LinkedIn Local, we know we're going to get some ads for LinkedIn Local when we turn it on next, right? So there is a whole lot of stuff going on for people in business. And there's some interesting data which I'm going to share with you in a minute to show that that's true. But essentially the result of that is that businesses, whether you are B2B or B2C, are spending a hell of a lot more time reaching fewer people who care a hell of a lot less. And they don't care less because they're awful or because what you do isn't valuable. They care less simply because the processing of all of the information is so darn hard. And there's another little part to that. And that little part is that the layer that AI brings. Who's heard the term AI slop? AI slop. So essentially, that means that there's a whole lot of stuff out there in the digital world that is very much the same. People are using the same prompts, the same chat or Claude or whatever it might be, and producing stuff that is very similar. And we all know the AI tells, right? Paragraphs all the same size. The M-dash, the overuse of emojis, all of those things add up to an erosion of trust out in the business world and in the marketing space. And so what we present tonight is not a presentation about AI is bad, the internet is bad, or anything like that. I mean, just now, Luke and I did a selfie. Hey, venue changed, but the show goes on, right? So we still use digital. We can't get away from AI. So we're not saying that. But what we're saying is there is an alternative for the right size business with the right size market to all of the noise, all of the saturation. Because sometimes, who's actually had an internet or an online free day lately where you didn't touch your phone, didn't do your emails, didn't do anything? Wow, you analog beings, you. How crazy is that? Most of us though, if we watch TV or watching a TV, there's a phone next to us and we are just so switched on. And so in amongst all of that saturation, in amongst that erosion of trust, because we don't really know what's real anymore. For example, who's been on a Zoom call and all of a sudden someone's AI note taker turns up? John isn't even there, but the AI note taker is there. In fact, are you guys even real, or are you all your digital twins? So AI is a really interesting thing for all of us in business. I still use it often, but it doesn't mean there aren't other ways that are more trusting, more connecting, because that is one of the challenges in business today. I've had a couple of people comment on my LinkedIn post today. Did anyone see that, by the way? All one of you, thank you. It's pardon? The what? Blame the algorithm, yeah. It's what I said in that was that connection is getting harder and harder because of that very reason of the saturation. So what we're looking at tonight is a way to do something that is different to that, not a replacement for what you're doing online. Different to, not a replacement, so it is more connected. All right, so Our proposition tonight is that online is an absolute battlefield. Who's got a sense that that's actually really true? And it's getting harder and harder. And as soon as you do something, there's some smart little kid who comes up with a new way and all of a sudden it's obsolete. Damn, it's getting hard. It's not just me, is it? It's getting harder and harder. And so we're presenting for you tonight rather, a way to win differently. And if you can leave tonight with your thinking changed, some idea about how you might reach your market in a different way, then that's a pretty good use of a Wednesday night. So let's dive into that. Online is a battlefield. Offline is where conversations happen, like what is happening tonight. The quiet of someone's office is a place where you can reach them in a human-to-human way. And we'll present some information to help you do that. For example, the little activity that Luke mentioned at the start, it was all about the emotion. The package that arrived, who had a really negative emotion? One person maybe? Who had a nice, positive, fun experience? Yeah, most people, right? When a package arrives, it's fun. Why? Because we are human beings. We like to unwrap things. Human beings are tactile, yet our screens make us very, very passive. And so we're saying it's a battlefield online. What can you do differently to show up in the quiet of someone's office to give them a new and different and tactile experience? It's an interesting question, right? If done well, it can be very, very effective and give you a very good return on investment. All right. I would have had a slide that had this beautiful quote from Zig Ziglar, and I'll read it out to you. Zig died in 2012, I think. Famous business coach, motivational speaker. And he said, if people like you, they'll listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. Who's heard that or something like that? People buy from business they know, people buy from people they know, like and trust. It's a similar version of that. Here's the problem that we have with all of the AI, all of the online stuff, the battlefield that's out there, trust is actually dipping. I've got some statistics which are, I don't know, they're a little bit scary. And again, if we had the PowerPoint, they would sort of hit you between the eyes. But the first one is 93%. So earlier this year, the Trust Report 2025 came out. And it was a survey of several hundred people in business. And the findings in it were pretty darn scary. You know, as someone who's a dad of 4 kids, you know, what sort of world are they growing up in? The first number that I want to highlight for you is 93% of the respondents expressed a deep concern about the rapid erosion of trust in society. Ouch, 93%. 63%, they perceive the world as less trustworthy than it was 4 years ago. Ouch. 56% of respondents said they trust their colleagues less than they did 4 years ago. Ouch again, right? So we don't trust each other. We don't trust what's going on out there. That's really scary. And Zig says, you know, when they trust you, they're going to buy from you. But we don't trust each other. So what can we do as business owners, as marketers, to regain that trust? The short answer is connection. The short answer is reaching a human being on a human-to-human level. Easy to say, not so easy to do. So we're going to present with you 3 different junctures where you can reach people in a human-to-human way that will get you thinking differently about how you show up in the marketplace. A couple of other ones. Luke, you really liked these ones, didn't you? These ones. So I do want to read them out. So forgive me for reading, but it says, we live in an information environment increasingly fractured and deranged by technology. What a great word, deranged by technology. That's kind of how I feel sometimes. I'm just bombarded, just leave me alone. Stop listening, so I don't want to see those ads, you know? And according to the 2024 Gallup data poll, the average confidence in institutions remains at a historic low of 28%. So less than a third of people have confidence in our institutions. That's frightening. I mean, it's frightening if you want to sell, but it's kind of frightening as a society. And this one too is really interesting. It says the same forces that complicate consumer and voter decisions have made it harder to identify good information within organisations, and therefore harder to build trust in decision making between colleagues. They've given us a number, 3 hours and 27 minutes per week. That is the estimated time employees spend grappling with information overload. 3.5 hours every single week. Ouch. Ouch. No wonder it's getting harder. No wonder. Okay, AI comes in. So 68% of the respondents from this trust report, they said that they believe deep fakes will significantly erode trust, underscoring the importance of authenticity and transparency in all communications. Remember, deep fakes used to be the Hollywood thing where someone would impose themselves in a Star Wars movie or whatever, and that was, oh, shock, horror, how dare you do that? Now we don't even know if it's a digital twin, a real person, a fake image. So no wonder we're having trouble trusting. And then secondly, 70% of adults do not trust businesses much to use AI responsibly. Additionally, 7 in 10 of those who are extremely knowledgeable about AI have little to no trust in businesses to use AI responsibly. Man, it's kind of depressing, isn't it? We won't go into it too much more, but to finish off, again, nice big quote from an executive in the health space. He said, "The trust factor is dissipating because we have lost the ability to connect with one another in ways that are human." Thank God you're here connecting as a human being. And so what we're presenting tonight is a framework, I guess, and a methodology to help you to connect more human to human. And in our opinion, things are dire enough that there's a really big need out there. So on that note, I'm going to hand back to Luke, who then is also going to do his fake when I'm 5 years old in front of the mirror, who's going to talk more about trust.
Great, thanks, Steve. So we agree trust is important, yes? Yeah. How do we create trust? I want you to have a chat on the table. How do we actually do that? How do we form trust with another person? Share. Alrighty, so forming trust. Put your hand up if some of these words came up in that conversation. Listening well. Hands up if that came up. Listening. Demonstrating. Being consistent. Demonstrating vulnerability. Sticking to commitments. Yeah. Being transparent. Being personal. Appreciating others. And I'll say listening again. Listening. So here's the question, right? That's a lot to do, right? Think about how difficult it is to create trust with someone, right? And a great quote from an event that Steve hosted, the idea of in order to be trusted, you must first be trusting. It's vulnerable. There's a risk. And all of us are naturally skeptical about who do we trust. So the challenge for us when we're looking to find new clients, find new partners, find new suppliers to build these business relationships that are based on trust, how do we do that? Because we need a little bit more time than what an email or post provides. So what I want to introduce to you tonight is what we call the 3 moments of truth. 3 moments that we look to create with our customers to form and deepen that trust. Now this concept is actually something that's been around for quite a while in marketing when it comes to 0 moment of truth. Come on in. Nothing like a squeaky door to help out. Thank you. So 3 moments of truth. 0 moment of truth, first moment of truth, and second moment of truth. Broken down to your first meeting, your first sale and your first repeat sale, right? When they decide to actually meet you in person, that's the goal of our 0 moment of truth. When they decide to purchase, right, actually transact money with you, that's the first moment of truth. And then second moment of truth, when they decide to do business with you again, right? These are 3 moments that where we have the opportunity to form that trust. So the trick is, well, how do I give myself the opportunity to create those moments, the invitation to go in and have this human connection, right? So let's jump into here. So I'll go a little bit deeper. So 0 moment of truth, the goal, first meeting. The challenge, prospects are unaware of your existence, right? Because we're reaching out to them the first time. So the opportunity is we want to spark some sort of curiosity and establish trust before the conversation, right? Now, Steve's going to share some stories shortly, but think about how you may already be doing this already through, you might be doing video proposals. You might be sharing value-added content, right? You might be seeking out someone that you both know that could operate as a bit of an introduction person, right? Someone who's a mediator, like, hey, I know Luke, you can trust him, I recommend catching up with this person. There are a few things that we can do that helps to establish that trust before the first meeting, right? Her own network, taking the time, right, to provide some sort of video or like talking about how we can help, those types of things. Then that first moment of truth is when they do the transaction with us. It is really important to think about how you onboard your clients, right? That entire customer experience in working with you, whether it's coaching, whether it's a particular professional service, a product, really thinking about that entire end-to-end experience, not just so that we're meeting the needs, but they're truly delighted from the experience. And they understand the value that you provided. I know often for us as professional service providers, we know we're delivering great value and great advice, but sometimes we forget to check in to make sure they understand the value that we provided, that they've had an opportunity to reflect on that experience, right? And then the second moment of truth, whether it's to renew with you for another month or for another year, maybe it's to refer you onto someone else in their network to become an advocate, give you a great review or testimonial from the experience, but that's another choice. And that's also an opportunity to take some time and maybe just say thank you. Thank you for working with us for the last month, the last 12 months. Here's a basket. Hey, Friday knockoffs at your office, it's on me as a thank you for working with us for the last 6 months. Right? I'm working with an electrician that's been working with some large contracts, and he started doing that, shouting Friday knockoffs for his larger businesses. The whole team knows who was responsible, right, for the Friday knockoffs, but also who is the preferred electrician of this property manager, right? So very powerful things to think about where you can then use those opportunities to deepen trust. Those moments are also opportunities to lose trust, right? We can lose it in the meeting. We can lose it in that transaction if we don't deliver on our promise, right? We don't make the onboarding simple, and we can definitely lose it if we don't deliver on our promise. Right, so they don't renew with us. We'll make it too difficult to stick with us. So yes, there's opportunities to create, but also opportunities to lose it. So Steve, I'd love you to come up and share some really tangible stories on how you've created these moments for your clients using direct response marketing. Yeah. Like this? Hey, I cheated.
Yeah. Thank you, Luke. Moments of truth. It's a beautiful phrase. Why moments of truth? The simple answer is that in business, sure, we can talk about purpose and and our vision and all of those things, which are important, but the only thing that really matters in business at the end of the day, the only truth that is out there is sales. Because without a sale, we don't have a business. And so it's a moment of truth to actually move your business forward. And so if there was a screen with our PowerPoint presentation, I would show you a first moment of truth example that it was a paper email that got an 8.3% response rate. Direct mail, if you're between 0 and 5%, is considered really, really good. This did 8.3%. The second one, which is actually the first moment of truth, is this package, which I created a few years ago, which did $22 million in sales. Again, a moment of truth for new contracts and renewals of contracts. It's not the place now to unpack that campaign and why it worked really well, but it was showing up differently. This is a video card, by the way. When you open it, oops, it automatically plays, right? And so it was a very personalised thing. Let me close that. So there are things that you can do that to show up differently that connect to people in a human-to-human way. And so first moment of truth was the paper email, 8.3% response rate. The second example is that package that went out in a couple of stages. It also had emails and some other online things. So again, not saying don't ever use electronic stuff, don't ever use the interwebs, because that's still very important. Don't use AI to help you do your research and so forth. But the tactile experience where you show up differently is very, very different from a moment of truth perspective. And the third one, this little bad boy, 2-page handwritten letter like that, did nearly $800,000 in sales in a month for a shed company I work with. Again, different. Who's received a handwritten letter in the mail recently? Who kind of, you have not, no one, have you really? Oh, your grandmother, oh, that doesn't, but notice the connection there though, right? The connection, the personalised. When you do things like that, it also signals intent, right? And that intent is a big trust builder. So at the end, if you want to come and look at these, by all means do so. Please just don't steal them, okay? It's my only copy. So yeah, that was a direct mail to past buyers to get them to buy again. Really, really ugly, but also really intriguing as well, right? It stands out. There is no way if that arrives in your letterbox and you open it, you aren't going to read it. Now, it's very blokey because it's a blokey farmer environment. I wouldn't do that for other markets, but that worked very, very well. So, what does that look like for you in your business? You have, if you can just have a look at the back side of the worksheet. I'll just talk you through it. It says, which moment of truth could add 6 figures this year? So average dollar value of your transactions, you'll write that in there. The 0 moment of truth, how many leads? What if that doubled, for instance? The first moment of truth, how many proposals are out there that are not being responded to? What if you increase that? What would that be worth to you? The second moment of truth then, the renewing. What would that be worth to you if you were able to do that and get people to buy again? So the purpose of this is not to go deep into your numbers and figures, but to get you thinking differently about how you can show up. And then the last 2 things, to get you to think about which moment of truth is the most lucrative right now. So just circle.
What I want to do is bring this together with an example. And I'm going to use a project I'm actively working on now with an organisation that's partnering with us on Matters Magazine across those 3 steps. And I want to share this so you can also think creatively how you might be able to do this for your business. So this business, they provide child play centres for childcare centres, right? This is what they do. And like create these beautiful landscapes, beautifully designed child play centres, perfect for childcare and early development centres. So for 0 moment of truth, because most childcare centres don't know who they are, right? They've conveniently purchased the back cover of Matters Magazine. Good on them, well done, right? But we're not going to stop there with just the back page of the magazine. We're actually going to send in an envelope the magazine flipped over so you can see the ad, first thing you see. We're also going to get the owners to write a letter dedicated to the childcare centres, and it's going to have a QR code that they can scan and watch a video from the 2 owners introducing and sharing some examples of the work that they've done, right? So it ticks a couple of boxes that this is, one, an organisation that you can trust to come in and provide an incredible child play centre for your childcare centre. And we'll use the distribution of the magazine to basically introduce this business to 80 childcare centres across the coast in one go. So that's all to get the first meeting, right? Now when it's time to quote, to get examples. These guys will then jump on and not just provide an email response, but jump on and provide a video proposal, right? So the owners will walk them through, here's exactly what we're going to do to help turn this space into a beautiful child play center. We're going to guide decision making, right? We're going to give you the information through video to make it interesting, click on stuff, have some screens, let me show you the files and all this sort of stuff, some examples, some drawings to show you what this thing's going to look like. Make it easy to make the decision. And like the example I shared earlier with the electrician for a second moment of truth, once the job's done, right, we don't just take the money and walk away. Let's make sure we're giving them a gift basket, maybe sponsor something for the childcare staff as a way of saying thank you for working with us, and also invite them to provide the introduction to other childcare centres that might need the rework. See how the three starts to come together? 3 opportunities to build trust because you're putting in just a little bit more effort and a little bit more focus on really focus on how much more do I need to give to make sure they feel comfortable in saying yes, right? We don't want to overwhelm them with too much information. We want to present it in a way that makes it easy for them to say yes and go, yes, this is someone I can trust, they can do the work. Especially when they're already in the market, right? They might already have in their budget to update the landscaping in their childcare centre, and this just lands at the right time. On the desk, when they pick up a cup of coffee, right, read the magazine and go, great, this is something we should consider. So I'd love for you to think about that for your business. What are the things you can do for that initial outreach that just shows a little bit more effort, right? Show it what it could look like if they were to take these steps. Do a little bit of a review, a little bit of research, right? A little bit of an audit, right? When it comes to when they're making a decision, first moment of truth, what can you do to make it easier for them to say yes? What information are you not providing now in your proposals? Are you giving them too much? Maybe just a 60-second video might have made things a little easier so they can share it around the office. Sometimes I've found having non-branded materials to make it really easy for let's say the marketing manager I might be working with or the business development manager, so they can present it as if it's their idea to their boss, right? I used to do that with Coles all the time, right? So I used to work with Procter & Gamble selling skincare products through Coles and Woolworths, these sort of places. So I would make sure I bring my deck that's unbranded, no Olay, so she could use it and present it to her boss. Look at this great idea that I have, right, to help improve the category. So thinking of those things can make it super helpful in bringing people across the line. Alrighty, so we were going to do a mini demo around using LinkedIn and Sales Navigator to actually help with the 0 moment of truth piece around research. Because one of the things that I'm a big believer of that AI has actually made a little easier is versus using it to create a ton of content, I actually really like it to help with research. So I can understand a little bit more about the person I want to reach out to and provide some sort of offer or opportunity. So who has ChatGPT on their phone or something similar on their phone? Hands up, right? What I want you to do is open it up. I want you to just ask ChatGPT, right? What is my personality type? Let's see how well ChatGPT knows you. So jump in, ask that question. Yeah. Hands up if you got it. So ChatGPT is giving you your personality type. Now ask ChatGPT, if ChatGPT is to sell to you, what should be in that package? Let's see if ChatGPT can come up with a really good idea to send to you as if it was to sell to you. Right? So the question is, ChatGPT, what package would you design to convince me to buy whatever the service is, a marketing package or coaching service? Let's see what it comes up with. And would you respond to it? Now I'll ask the question, what gift would you buy me to say thank you? So ChatGPT, what gift would you buy me to say thank you? So the reason I want to use that as an example is that if you do spend a little bit of time researching your prospect, right? So jumping on their LinkedIn, checking out their website, you can share all that information with ChatGPT. So the demo I was going to share was going to show you how to do that with Perplexity. Quick prompt, which is actually on the QR code. I've actually got the prompt that you can use to use Perplexity to research for you to create a dossier about your potential prospect, giving you ideas on how you can reach out to them via email, via LinkedIn, via direct mail, all sorts of ideas. So that prompt, it's on the QR code. It's a Word doc, adapt it, use it, but spend time researching first then consider what's the best way to reach out to your potential prospect or your customer, right? How to make it easier for them to say yes, or a client, right? And how to say thank you. But make sure using, this is why I love AI for that stuff, right? Research versus pumping out thousands of pieces of content. Use it for research and then do one great piece of content. Alrighty, so we're just going to close now with the 5 principles. Yeah.
All right, so I guess what we're saying is you've got a choice. You can contribute to the noise and the AI slop out there, or you can show up in a different way that is going to connect more with your market. Understand though, not everything works in marketing. I wish it did, but it doesn't. You will still have those things that don't work. That's life in business, that's marketing. But what we've presented tonight is a way for you to think differently about how you're showing up at those moments of truth, the moments that really matter to your bottom line. All right, to put a bow on it, there are 5 principles we believe you need to follow, and they would have been up on the screen. We believe you need to follow to make this work and work well. The first one is extreme personalization. Extreme personalization. Now that means 2 things. That means stalking or researching, whichever word lands better for you. Quick story about that. We met with a prominent business owner on the Sunshine Coast and presented some of our findings about her. And she was almost in tears going, "My God, how did you know this about me? This is so accurate." So you can find out an awful lot of stuff about someone using AI and using different tools. So the first one is extreme personalization. So make it personable. That signals intent. The other part of the personalization is make sure that the solution to their pain is evident very quickly. Because of that bandwidth issue, people don't have a lot of time, a lot of, I guess, mental capacity to process these days. So part of personalization is make sure they know that you are speaking to their pain. Right, that is really important. The second thing is strategic timing. We tend to go to the market when we need money. True? Yeah. Know what the cycles are in the market you're selling to. That's really important. Okay, so timing is really critical. Sometimes you can't get that right and you don't know, but it can't just be when you need some more money. All right, so that's another factor. Number 2, curiosity driven. Right, curiosity driven is huge. When I teach people about copywriting, I teach them about the power of novelty. Now, novelty is another way of saying curiosity. Novelty is important because new and interesting things release dopamine in the brain, the happy chemical associated with cocaine, addiction, sex, etc. So what you were talking about at the very start with the feelings you got around the direct mail piece was a dopamine hit. And that's what showing up differently in those key moments of truth, if done well, can do. So the curiosity-driven design, curiosity-driven thought process and intent is really, really important. Number 4, a clear, low friction next step. Right, make it easy for them. Again, narrow bandwidth. I don't have the time or the energy to go and do things that are hard. So make sure it is a very simple next step. Because if there's 2 or 3 steps and one of them's really hard, they don't care. They'll be gone. And that's on us as people trying to sell. Because now that we know the environment we're selling into with the level of trust and so forth, hopefully that hit home for you that you have to work extra hard right now. And then the last thing is I mentioned this at the start, but integrate it with your sales process. We're not saying chuck out all of your AI, your online stuff, your emails, your SMSs, and all the other things that make a business happen in a marketing sense, but integrate it with your sales process. So they're the 5 key things, the 5 key principles we stick to when we're designing things for our clients. All right, 5 key principles. And I would go to a slide, and interestingly, the slide it has this. Hello, I'm Steve Plummer. So this was a little introduction that Luke and I were going to do. So my background, I'm a high school deputy principal, educated teacher by trade. I spent the first 20 years of my working life doing that. The last 15 years has been as a direct response copywriter. I'm a speaker. I've written 2 books. I'm a co-host of an international podcast, and I'm a father of 4. So that's me. And then I was going to introduce this next guy you may have heard of, Luke.
Thank you, Steve. I'm the host. Thank you. I'm Luke Hawley, host of LinkedIn Local Sunshine Coast and co-owner of Matters Magazine and Buy Local Sunshine Coast. And for me, stories and community matter. And that's a key focus of what I do. How do I curate the stories of Sunshine Coast and share it with our community? Because that's where the wisdom is. All right, that's the lessons we learn. And also it's the community that protects and defends us against the troublemakers out there, right? But also helps to refer, build knowledge, and make sure that we're all thriving together. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you are interested in connecting with Steve and I on how you can bring those 3 moments of truth to life in your business, right? Thinking about how you win the 0 moment, first moment, second moment, please do reach out to us. Again, just use the QR codes on the table to connect with us.